Oh, there she is. Miss doesn't call her friend back. Maybe our viewers and listeners will have better luck. Give it a try. Elle's phone number is 203-805-8166. Call her.
What? Gary, I don't want any of you to have my phone number. Oh my God.
203-805-8166.
Nobody caught that. Say it one more time.
203-805-8166.
Doesn't really have the same
I know. I
vibe.
was trying.
Welcome to the Elle Duncan Show with Elle Duncan and Benedict Arnold. What a turncoat. I'm over here trying to delete numbers. I'm over here trying to block people. I'm like, how do you know me? There's nothing worse than when you get that text message from someone and they're clearly
Oh,
incredibly familiar. And you go back through the 13 or so unanswered text messages they sent you to get to
oh,
the genesis, the beginning of like how they know you.
oh,
And you're
damn.
like, oh God, this is when I was at that bar like 3 years ago. And for some reason, I was feeling really, really, really social. And I gave this stranger my phone number and now
Yeah.
I'm being punished
No.
for it.
And then you've gone too far to be like, yo, who is this? My bad. I got a new phone. Everybody knows everything's saved to the cloud now, so that's not even an excuse.
Got to call the bat phone.
Straight
Um,
up.
I feel like that's exactly what. Listen, we didn't really have a chance as we say hello and welcome back from your 4th of July festivities. We'll get into all that. Hopefully, you had a great time. We did not, because we were traveling, really have an opportunity to talk about this Bronny James situation. First of all, the most overused word of 2024 so far is nepo baby. Oh my God.
I don't have any experience in it, Elle, fortunately, growing up, but I've certainly been given the crash course since he was drafted 55th overall. I don't know if you know this, but he is LeBron's son.
I've heard.
Yeah.
So I've heard. And I've also heard that he's getting only these opportunities because he's LeBron's son. And of course, this is a conversation that's being rehashed again because Bronny just made his summer league debut. He had 4 points in his debut, which, by the way, that should not be something that helps underscore your point that he doesn't deserve to be in the league. That's what he was averaging at USC coming off the bench. Like, Bronny is a work in progress. He's a project, right? He's a second round pick. Every once in a while, you dumb luck your way into a Jokic.
Yeah.
Mostly second round picks are projects, right? Who are
Sure.
going to spend a significant amount of time in the G League trying to round themselves into pro form. I, in the midst of all this madness after he was drafted, firmly stood kind of in the same position that Adrian Wojnarowski did, in that nepotism is rampant, not just in the NBA, but in our world, Gary.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say something right now that people aren't going to like. Every one of you wish. I lay in bed at night sometimes still at 41 years old going, if my parents could have just done it differently and set themselves up differently, I too could have been a Nepo baby. The whole entire point
Mhm.
is that we as parents work particularly hard and we do it so that we can have a better future for our children. Okay. And you don't have to like that. And if you don't have kids, or you do have kids but you aren't in a position where you're going to be able to sort of pass down something to them, I understand. Most of us are not in that space. I certainly am not, right? Like, I never was. I never had the ability to be a nepo baby. My
Mhm.
parents worked very hard and did everything they could so I could empower and help myself. But to say that I would not have appreciated some additional help, some doors to be opened at the beginning of my career when I was trying to find my footing, to say I couldn't have used a little bit of a pull up or a help up or a step up,
Yeah.
we all want and need those things. It's just that most of us don't have the benefit of someone with cachet and clout and a Rolodex and the power and ability to single handedly set us on the right track to our career. We can't besmirch and denigrate and be angry at people who do. I mean, it just is what it is. We live in a society filled with nepotism, whether it's
I
your own family or people that you feel familiar with, or people that you golf with, or you guys just went to the same alma mater. And so all
It's
of a
true.
sudden, you guys are homies. Like, people always look to help and advance people who are either close to them or feel like family to them or are in fact family to them. And I don't understand why we can't look past just the name part of it, Gary, because if on its surface, I came to you and was like, here's a story about a kid who was who had open heart surgery a year
Mhm.
ago, trying to pursue this dream of his. And now, a year later, he is trying to become a professional in the NBA. You might go, wow, what a like great story. Make that a Disney Junior story. But because
Mhm.
he's LeBron James' kid, we don't want to have any empathy or compassion to him or his journey. We want to just go, you don't deserve it. You don't earn it. Daddy did this for you. And I
Mhm.
just think it's unfair.
I can see both sides of the argument, and certainly we're getting more than two different opinions on it. First and foremost, the NBA draft in and of itself, even inside of the top dozen picks, even inside the lottery, is the biggest crapshoot, in my opinion, of the big four professional league drafts. So taking a flyer at 55, or it would have been hilarious if the Celtics took him at 54. I think anything outside of a top 15 draft pick um, is an absolute gamble. No matter who the name is. Hell, we've seen busts at 1, 2, 3 more in the NBA than we've seen in any other league. Um, Additionally, heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? We saw this with Jordan's kids, and they were given a chance. And you're never, ever, ever going to live up to what, in this case, Michael Jordan, or in this most recent case, LeBron James, has paved the way for in his family's name and in that basketball lineage. I get that. But there's also this argument of, especially, recently, people are like, earn what you got or share the equity. But when we're seeing something, and I think objectively, people can see that this was sort of plucked and put at the front of the line. I think that's where we have a little bit of an issue, because a lot of other places where, nepotism and who you know, because what do we say, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. A lot of those other places, it can't be measured with like straight up measurables and deliverables, right? It's who you know. Hey, let me slide this in here. You can actually quantify Bronny James's impact on a basketball court, and arguments have been made that there are so many better options at that position to have given an opportunity to. So it's weird because I can kind of see both sides of it. I've never benefited from, being the nepo baby. But I can also see how you mentioned, damn, that'd be so cool. Somebody could just like let me start at the finish line.
Like, but this isn't the finish line. I mean, here's the truth of it. I remember someone saying something to me after Girl Dad, and they meant it really in a positive way.
Uh-huh.
And they're a friend. And so if they're listening, I hope you know it made me think a little bit about what you said. But after Girl Dad, I remember him saying to me, you realize you're never gonna do anything ever again that will ever be more impactful or important than Girl Dad. And I was like, damn, really?
Professionally?
Yeah, professionally. Like
Okay.
you're never gonna be able to top that ever. And I just remember thinking, like, well, I understand that you think that that is a positive. You think that's a compliment. Like you're trying to speak to the gravity of Girl Dad and how big it became. But also, like, it feels incredibly unfulfilling for someone to tell you, predict that you're never going to
Mhm.
do anything that will be nearly as important as this thing that you did. And I think that the idea that we tell the offspring of really important or famous people, you're never going to be as good as your father, and chances are he won't. His father is a one of a one. Like there's many people who will try and fail to be as good as LeBron James for as long as LeBron James has been good. But I think that alone, the mental fortitude alone to say,
Mhm.
no, I'm not coming out as highly touted as my dad. And I certainly have more challenges that I need to make. But like, I'm going to try and create my own name in this space where my dad already made a name. Like, I think, LeBron kind of hit on it with his interview where he was like, Bronny could choose to do whatever he wants, right? Bronny has the benefit of choices and options. When you get that
Mhm.
level of rich, you get to look at your child and say, you get to pursue your passions. You still have to work hard, right? Like you still need to have integrity. You need to still have professionalism, but you get to choose what lane you want. You get to
Mhm.
choose what passions that you like because you don't have to worry about that safety net. And the idea that instead of becoming, as LeBron said, a chef or an influencer or a marketing guy or a guy that throws parties or any other thing that he could do, he decided I'm going to go and try and be in this space. And I think that takes balls. I do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with certainly the people going, well, opportunities and this and that, and someone's missing out on an opportunity. I would challenge this, Gary, just like I challenged the guy that approached me when I was on family vacation to debate about whether, little Bronny deserves this or not. who did he slight? Like, who? Give me the names of the players who could have been and should have been taken at 55 overall in the NBA who you are hating life for right now. And then, of course, he has a blank stare on his face because he can't
Hmm.
name a single player that would have gone 55th overall. And I go, okay, well, who is your team? And he's like, well, I'm a Sixers fan. I said, who did y'all draft in the second round last year? Crickets. And that's my point. My point is that nepotism is everywhere. And you want to have a whole conversation about nepotism, fine. And whether it's right or fair, there's a million reasons why we say things like it's important for marginalized groups or for subgroups to have representation in offices. Because the truth of the matter is, if that there is someone in those offices that looks more like you, Gary, there is more opportunity for advancement for people that look like you because, again, it's a natural behavior to want to surround yourself with people who you relate to, right? So that is a deeper conversation. But to be mad specifically at LeBron, look at Thanasis Antetokounmpo. That dude literally has a whole job because he's Giannis's brother or the other
Hmm.
brother. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. We just normally don't live in a sports world where the dad still playing when the kid is old enough to come and join him as well. But the ownership is rampant with nepotism. I mean, everywhere you look, they get to pass that legacy down. And when it's a proper company, we go, wow, it's a legacy, right? It's a succession plan. But when it's self-made people or when it's players, we want to say, oh, you're benefiting unfairly. And I just think that's stupid. I really do. And I like the fact that LeBron seems to think he'd know better than the rest of us. He's his dad, that Bronny is perfectly fit to handle something like this because he just doesn't give a about what anybody says about him. And he's going to need that thick skin. He is, because it's not going to be great for him. But I don't think it hurts at all, Gary. I think for LeBron, it gives you one, maybe two more years to play a game that you're still playing at a high level, but you get to do it with your son. You get to show him how to be a professional. You get to show him all of the tools that it takes to become a great player. And then you hope he does the rest. LeBron can't play for him, you know?
Hmm.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with this. And I think it's a great story for a Lakers team that, frankly, has been rendered largely irrelevant. People are not choosing to go there. They're an old aging team. And so if you've got that storyline, if you're choosing the Showtime element of the Lakers history that you always have, I'm into it.
It's not going to be sexy though when the season starts and they're on the outside of the playoff and play-in picture, and that is the one storyline. Hey, you could have coupled that.
Oh yeah, you could have.
You,
Oh man, what
hey,
second
hey,
round
hey.
player really could have made an impact
Well,
on this
I'm
team
saying
and turned it
you could
around?
have coupled that pick for some trades, blah blah blah. Listen, I'm
Oh,
not saying that. I'm just giving the other side of the token. Hey, just to quickly follow up, touch back on the girl dad thing, which was a literal global phenomenon, and it continues to be. Anytime you see on Instagram or Twitter, parents who are parents of daughters, it's hashtag girl dad. You said you sort of sat in that comment for a minute. You didn't take it as a slight? I mean, because nobody, I mean, very, very rarely, there are very few people in this world who have a global impact once in their life. So do you think there was a little bit of truth to that?
well, I mean, here's the thing. I literally spend zero time sitting around thinking about what my legacy will be, right?
Yeah.
Like zero. But I suppose that I never thought of it that way. You know, I
Hmm.
mean, when I gave that speech about Girl Dad, I literally did it as an anecdote and because I was asked to share it at a time where everyone was sad. And I just thought it was a really great point, that I thought it was a story that really underscored who Kobe was in terms
Yep.
of how he was as a father, right? I had no idea it would become this thing and that it would still be a thing and they'd be releasing Girl Dad shoes. And I love that Vanessa has been able to take ownership of that because it got really out of control for a while there. Um, but I think that, like, I spent no time talking or thinking about like what it would mean or if I would ever do anything to impact the world in that way again. It's the idea that it was planted in my head right then in that moment
Yeah.
that I would never do anything again that would ever be as impactful, and that there needs to be some, that I would need to in some way try and top that, or that
Hmm.
I just, it was just weird to me because I never thought of it that way. I never had it all laid out, and it feels very fatalistic. I mean, you don't know what your impact can be or what you will do and how you'll change the world. And I suppose someone outlooking that for me and like kind of, you know, handicapping that for me and saying like you're never going to do anything nearly as important to that, it just felt a little deflating, honestly. It was like, well,
Yeah.
then what's the point of all of this? What's the point of reacting or using your voice in certain ways if you feel like you've already done the greatest thing that you'll ever do. And so I don't know. I just related in that way
Yeah,
to these people who the outlook on their careers is from the very beginning, well, it doesn't really matter because you'll never be your dad or you'll never live up to this thing ever again anyway. So it doesn't matter. And just like
yeah,
how disorienting that must be for someone that's very young, because I was not very young when someone said that to me, but
sure.
it felt, yeah, I don't know. It just felt a little off putting.
Professionally speaking, obviously, we're keeping this in context because you are obviously a mother of two, and
Sure.
I am not a parent, but I'm told that it's the most important thing you'll ever do in your life
Slightly.
as it relates to establishing a legacy. But listen, Elle, you've been my friend for 10 years, so I would certainly not bet against you not having another global impact like that. But think about the careers that have been made with two simple words. We saw one recently. Hawk Tua.
Oh no, are you putting me in the same
No,
bucket
no,
as the
L,
Hawk
no,
Tuah
no,
girl?
L, your impact,
Who's also who has a
no,
girl dad somewhere, I'm sure.
your impact is much more substantive. Okay,
Oh God.
let's just establish that right now. But I'm just saying, two words can have a profound impact on the masses. You
Yeah,
were
they
first to
can.
market.
They can. And apparently, Nepo baby is also another one. Who do we think is going to give him, like, what are the insults that Bronny's going to get?
Oh
Because
God,
there's some trash talkers in the league. Like Anthony Edwards is a notorious trash talker.
it's the one.
What would be your slight for Bronny? I feel like the whole who your dad is like,
It's
that's like, yeah, that's
it's
overused.
overused. No,
Yeah.
you gotta play the hits in this
Okay, so
regard,
give me
L.
one. Give me an example.
I mean, it's literally been all over Twitter. Like you only hear because you're daddy. Like
That's not even
that's just
clever.
but it doesn't have to be clever because some people would say that it's simply speaking fact. And you know what hurts more than like a slight that you know isn't true? A factual statement. It's like that shit, that shit rip out your heart. It just rip out your guts. So Anthony Edwards, for sure. He was the antagonist in the Adam Sandler movie. I think it's called Hustle. He was Kermit Wiltz, and he talked so much trash. But I
Yeah,
feel
he
like
was good.
he wasn't even playing a character.
He
He
wasn't.
was just him.
Yeah,
You
that's
got
him.
Dylan Brooks. Obviously, he's one of those guys that you hate unless he's on your team. And someone even argue that you probably hate him even if he is on your team. All right, we saw
Fair.
him getting into so many beefs over the last couple of years, so he will for sure. And by the way, Dylan Brooks probably be playing down there in the G League against against Bronny. You know what I'm saying? So he's one of those dudes for sure.
I think I wonder if there will be any amount of like, I don't really want to go after LeBron's kid.
Correct.
Like, like
Correct.
LeBron's going to end up in either somebody's front office or somewhere in the NBA. He's just a person of great respect and power.
Yes.
And I wonder if there'll be some reservedness to go after his son because he will be there. But I do have one for them to put a button on this Nepo baby talk. That is always my tried and true. Like I've trotted this one out a few times when I'm
Oh,
getting
here
into
we
an
go.
argument with a man and he's trying to like sling whatever. Okay, you ready? So they're on the court and insert, I don't know, Patrick Beverly. And he's like, Bronny's like talking back, as he should. Run your mouth, Bronny. And Pat Bev's like, you're just mad because you're not half the man your mother is.
Oh my God. L hold on. Time out. Flagrant.
I've used that one a few times. And then like, inevitably like one, a rando will be like, my mother's dead. And I'm like, and
Always.
thank goodness with a son like you.
Oh my God. L, you're doubling down. Timeout, flagrant, violation, throw the flag, double technical. I thought we're supposed to leave family out of this.
You always say that, Gary.
I
You
thought
keep
women and
saying that.
children
And
are
I'm
off
like,
limits.
no, that's how you win is you bring family into it. What do you mean?
No, because you got Russell Wilson going into the stands when people are clowning on his family, and you got all these other dudes going into the stands when you bring up wives, girlfriends, side chicks, and whatnot. That's all off limits, I thought.
No, there
Or
are
hear me out.
levels. There are levels. There are levels. Off limits, when they say like families and wives are off limits parameters are you don't attack them when they come into the stadium. Like you're not yelling at sweet little Savannah James and calling her or Surrey James and calling her names. Like you're not doing that to Savannah. Don't do that. And you also don't say things like, yeah, it's your wife yesterday. But I would like to believe that you're not half the man your mother is is right at the line, but
Uh-huh.
not something that would like precipitate a brawl type over the
Okay.
line, right? Like it's a jab
If
and
you
it's a
think
touch
so.
brutal, but it's not like it's not horrible, right? Like when we say mothers are off limits, we mean, hey, I heard that your teammate slept with your mom. That is off limits. But I think just sort of a general jab more at you than your mom, that's more of a jab at you, that your mom's more manly than you are as a
All
man.
right. Yo, it would be hilarious though if Pat Bev was like, "Yo, I heard your dad was sleeping with your mom," because he is. Yo, because he is,
I heard
right?
your mom sleeps with your teammates. He's
Yeah,
like, well,
facts, dude.
yeah, for
Like,
20 years now.
it's true. It's true. That's why I'm here.
These are big facts. You know what? I'm just here for the women's basketball. Caitlin Clark has been flirting with a triple double, which would have been the first rookie in WNBA history to get one. Over the last week or so, I knew she was right there on the precipice. I knew she was on the precipice. And then she gets it. She makes history over the weekend. She gets a triple dub, and her team beats the New York Liberty. And ever
Mhm.
the humble star that Caitlin Clark is, she tried to defer and defer and defer when they talked about it at the press conference until Aaliyah Boston stepped in.
Caitlin, you're the first Fever player to ever get a triple double in franchise
Woo!
history. Congratulations on that. Thanks. How much does that big of a win add on to that accomplishment?
Honestly, like I'm just happy we won. Like I've said, like I take a lot of pride in being able to do a lot of different things for this team. Like I want to be able to. I think we're really good when I can get the ball off the glass and just go in transition and find my teammates and set them up. But like obviously 13 assists, like that means my teammates made 13 shots off my passes. So that goes to them. But I mean, I don't know.
She's so humble, isn't she?
Well, I don't know what to
Well,
say.
let me tell
Like
ya.
I mean, it's great.
That's
I don't know.
pretty cool, Caitlin. Great job, sister.
So we aired this highlight, right? I did the highlight on Sports Center, and I heard the sound, and I didn't know if there was a touch of shade in that, to be honest
You
with you.
you thought there was shade.
I thought it was like a tongue in cheek. Oh, she's so humble. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Well,
Listen, I'm not trying to make any aspersions here, any assumptions, but it didn't feel genuine to me, Elle.
I don't think so. Knowing Aaliyah Boston,
Okay.
she's a pretty genuine person.
Okay.
I think it seemingly as the Fever have become more of a team, and we're seeing that they're getting more wins than ever. This was a team that started out 2-9, and look at them; they're a postseason team right now as of now.
They're
So we'll see
literally a
what happens
seven
after
seed
the
in the
break. Yeah,
WNBA.
yeah, they're a 7 seed right now, so they're playing really well. I've noticed that there's a little bit of some it feels like some inside jokes that are happening between the
That's a
Fever
good
at the
point.
right, like they're doing a thing where there's a lot of that where like Caitlin will try to say something about her teammates or defer to her teammates, and they'll be like, "Nah, make it about Caitlin." I think there's a little bit of an inside joke thing that's happening there, because Caitlin tends to not talk about her own achievements or accomplishments and is being incredibly deferential. And I do think sometimes your teammates are like, "Do the victory lap, bruh." Like
Yeah.
this isn't a little thing. No one's ever had a triple double as a rookie in W history. So like do your victory lap, Caitlin. Please stop. I know you're trying to be, and like there was a little bit of that with like Matt Ryan, where his teammates when I would cover the Falcons would be like, he'd throw 6 touchdowns and then he'd be like, "Oh, I just it was all the offensive line." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Bruh, like we get it, you're humble, but like you don't have many of these opportunities or these kinds of games, and so just like do your victory lap and keep it pushing." So I think it was much more about that. But what I loved was the pettiness, because I love petty, and we have such a great time when it comes to sports, like the delineation between the pettiness that was talked about around the W earlier in the season surrounding Caitlin Clark and the pettiness that we're now seeing, which is like fun, competitive petty. And that petty was on full display when Sabrina Ionescu was asked post game about the Fever beating the number one team as it stands right now in the league, in the New York Liberty. And this is what she said.
What was behind you all maybe not playing Liberty basketball this afternoon, and why you couldn't earn this win?
No, we play Liberty basketball, but understanding like this is their Super Bowl game. I mean, we've beaten them 3 times this year already. We knew they were going to come into this game really hungry, and it's tough to beat a team 4 times. Like it's just tough in our league, especially with how every team has just grown, and especially this young team. You've been able to just see how much they've grown just throughout the first half of the season. So, I don't think it was necessarily us not playing our style of basketball. It's just understanding that we had to come in with a sense of urgency, knowing it's not going to be as easy as it was in the first couple games that we were able to go up against them because they've just grown.
Yikes.
She called it their Super Bowl.
All right, timeout.
So petty.
That's a flagrant, and that is an unearned petty because the Liberty haven't won anything.
I know, exactly. I know, but still, it's, listen, all of us can relate, right? Like we have this ongoing thing with my co-host on the 6 p.m. Sports Center, Kevin Nagandi, between the Braves and the Phillies. And for the last couple of years, we win the World Series a few years ago. I was insufferable because that's who I am. I've told you numerous times, if you don't know me by now, I am a gracious loser. I am not a gracious winner. I'm going to glow and talk because when else do you get to do it, right? You don't get to do it when you're losing. And so I was insufferable. And so for the last 2 years, as the Phillies have put the Braves out of the postseason 2 years in a row now, despite the Braves having the best record in baseball last year, the best hitting team maybe of all time, they fall to the Phillies for a second straight year. And now we have this like ongoing thing, except for that I've laid out, bruh, the Braves aren't good this year. They lost Ronald Acuna. They lost Spencer Strider. They can't field a team. They can't hit the ball. They're not great. And that's okay. That is okay because we won a World Series 3 years ago. Like, I'm still okay. I'm good. I don't need to win one every year, Boston. But he just keeps coming at me. And so my reply back to him is whenever he talks about the Phillies being better than the Braves in the division, I'm like, hang the banner, Kevin. Ooh, you ended the Braves season 2 years in a row. Did you get a ring for it? Did you get a ring? Because when we go to the postseason and make a run, we finish the job. We win the World Series. You don't do that. And so I hear Sabrina. I hear her whenever someone's like, what does this mean? You lost to the Fever. What does this mean? She's like, this doesn't mean to us. We didn't need to win this game. They needed to win this game. And
that cuts to the core of Nagandi too, because Philly, man, they're up there. They are among the most insufferable. So it's interesting to get that glimpse behind the dynamic because Philly is one of those cities and sports markets where you don't talk. It's only titles. It's only title talk.
It's supposed to be, but it's been a long time.
Indianapolis, hoisting the, we made the divisional round banner. It ain't the Lakers hoisting the in-season tournament champions banner, which, by the way, listen, I think the Fever can make some serious noise. They're 9-13. They're the 7th seed, and they are clicking, and they are young. And in the same vein that the Liberty think that this was their Super Bowl, I think the Fever understand anytime, anywhere, any place they go, they're getting everybody's best shot. It's the other team's Super Bowl when they play them, in my estimation, with 17, 18,000 people in these road arenas that they have to go into. I think it's actually completely inverted in that regard.
Really?
Yes, definitely. 100%. People are having to relocate games on the road.
You're right. There is definitely a road advantage. I think ultimately, not to sound like a broken record, ultimately, it always comes down to defense when it comes to teams that can really compete and contend. Do I think they can be a playoff team? Absolutely. But when you talk about teams that can really like contend, I do think veteran leadership is important in those situations. And also now the Olympic break's really going to help Caitlin because usually I've talked to Chinea Bumake about this, and she was also a #1 overall pick and was in a Final Four and then started playing in the W a month later. And she's like, man, halfway through the season, you are so gassed. Like you're just gassed. You've been playing basketball for like 8 months. Like you are so over it.
Caitlin Clark's been playing basketball nonstop since November.
Right. Like nonstop. And so I do think the Olympic break is going to help them in that way, but defense is also a really integral part of a team that can actually make some noise, and the Fever just don't have it defensively. But I would say that whereas a team like the Chicago Sky, who at one point were sort of also a middling team. I think Andrea Carter called them mid teams. They're just both mid. The Fever have started to round out and are making a little bit of noise. They're beating teams now. They went the whole year without beating a team over 500. And then they beat the Mercury, which was the first team. And then they beat the Liberty, which is the top team in the league. So they're really starting to round into form. as opposed to like a Chicago Sky team who is still not, they're still a peripheral playoff team, but they do have a star and a great storyline there in Angel Reese, who extends her double-double streak to 12. And she's coming for Candace Parker type records. And now all of a sudden, a rookie of the year race that looked like a foregone conclusion that was going to go Caitlin Clark's way. And I think it still will, but it's tightening. It's like the odds are tightening. It's getting much more interesting because you've got these two players who are playing incredibly well, making history their rookie year. I would say, and this is purely off of asking a lot of questions, working in this space, knowing what I know about basketball, and again, asking more questions, I would still maybe slightly give the edge to Caitlin, putting everything else aside, like not just because of the name and the sellouts and like what she's doing for viewership, just the basketball part, right? Because most W players would tell you it is harder for a guard to translate right away in the W than it is a post player, right? And so post players tend to have success a little bit quicker. And so just because she was already up against that aspect of it, I would still probably give that that nod to Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year. But I think it's going to be a great race, and what Angel is able to do for a Chicago team that again is just trying to sort of fight for playoff positioning, but to keep them in these games and to keep them in the storylines, like it's going to be great.
Yeah, minus 700, I think, as of the time of this recording, Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year. This was a Fever team 2 years ago. They won 2 games.
Yeah.
Last in the standings. They were last in the standings last year. I think they won 4 games. Now they're at 9, and they're a playoff team. She leads in points, assists, and efficiency. I don't think it should be as close as maybe people think it is going to be. And we still have half of season to play. But yeah, Caitlin Clark, I think, is, if you just look at the numbers, it's right there. Boom.
It's right there for her. All right. If there was plenty of things right there for you to consume, but if you didn't, if you for some reason missed anything, we're going to take a quick breather. And when we come back, we will tell you everything that you missed, including a retirement that I thought had happened like 20 years ago. Oops. We back on the Elle Duncan Show. I'm sorry. I don't know a ton about wrestling, self-admittedly.
Whoa.
But I was under the assumption that John Cena, the movie star, the actual movie star, been in a lot of movies, in a TV show I love called The Peacemaker, by the way. It's really good. Had already retired like a million years ago when he became a freaking movie star. And it turns out he didn't, that he just retired over the weekend. What, Gary? I saw this on social media and I was like, John Cena hadn't retired? What?
I didn't know wrestling in its true form like required you to plant your flag and like being active, or hey, you want to pop through, come on over to the Royal Rumble. It's WrestleMania this week. Why don't you come on and slide by? We see you're in town. Elle, I'm in the same boat as you. All right.
Yeah, stunt casting is a thing that they do. I didn't know it was a thing that you don't. It's like, yeah, you went off and became a movie star. I mean, The Rock will come every once in a while, right? And make like a random appearance. I don't think he ever had to properly retire. I think we all just assumed when you became a movie star making $20 million a year, you weren't wrestling anymore.
However, I do want to imagine a time and a place and a wrestling event. Let's just say WrestleMania, because that's the Super Bowl of wrestling. And John Cena pulls up to the gate and he's like, let me in. And security's like, whoa, buddy. Whoa, you retired. And he's like, no, fair. I'll head on out. I'll see my way out. I don't know, Elle. This is like one of those things. And I tell this story when I first moved to Boston in 2013. George Strait was touring, and his tour was literally the Cowboys' last ride. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, we have to go to this concert because George Strait, this is the last time we're going to see him. Elle, I opened up TikTok the other day. This Joker is still on the road. This was 11 years ago. So this is just a little setup for the comeback to sell whatever he's about to sell in his comeback, in his comeback announcement. So this whole like people retiring and coming, this is like the Brett Favre syndrome, man. He's not retiring. He might be retiring for the first time, but expect to come back, just like our boy George Strait.
Can I tell you something super
troubadour?
Can I tell you something super up? Whenever like an older artist like does that whole like this is my last tour,
yeah,
in order to not fall for the okie doke like you did, I do like research, I'll be like, well, first of all, are they in good health? What's their age?
Yes.
If they have been in financial disrepair, more than
Yes.
likely they'll have another tour. Like I'll do some
They're
research.
coming back.
And I did that same research when Aretha Franklin was like, this is my last tour. I was like,
Uh-huh.
I connected dots. I was like, this could be it. Like, and I want to make sure I have seen the Queen. And I
Okay.
saw her up here in Connecticut at the casino, saw her at Mohegan Sun,
Yeah.
and she died 7 months later. And so I was so glad that I
Shit.
took all of those connections and was like, I think that this is a real farewell tour and I am going to take it seriously, spend the money and go see her. And I was able to see her before she passed. So,
Oh, so you like legit did research. We
oh, I
didn't.
really did research. I was like, let's look at her age, let's look at her health. Like,
All right.
let's,
All right. Rest in peace.
yeah.
I did not do the proper research. But 11 years ago, quick math, George Strait would have been 61.
Is that it? I feel like
That's
that
young.
guy's been old since we were in middle school.
I think he was born at 40. For real. He was born paying taxes, I think. He's 72 now. But 11 years ago being 61, should I have been like, "Oh yeah, no, there's a real chance this is his last ride," as
No,
his
no,
marketing says.
no.
61 is young, right?
61's young. I mean, Aretha was in her 80s. So I was like, I'm putting these.
Damn, Aretha was
Yeah.
doing her thing in her 80s?
Yeah, bruh. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And she was still playing the piano. She was still getting it. But I was like, something's telling me it's like with Stevie. It's like if he announced a farewell tour, I'm going to that.
I saw him at the airport the other a couple years ago, and
Did
it
he see
was
you?
no, but for some reason he was magically avoiding everything in his way.
I
It
hate
was like,
y'all.
oh, oh, I'm taking a left here. How'd you know that was a left? Dolly Parton is 78, and when she did the halftime show or the Thanksgiving show, and she had to like hold herself up with the star uh at midfield, I was like, oh, Dolly, we don't need to be doing this. She did own it. She crushed it in that little
She looks
cheerleading
great. I
that
loved
little
that for
cheerleader
her.
outfit. No, that
I
was
loved
good.
it.
That was good. Just an American freaking icon. Which
Yeah.
brings me, Elle, to my next point, if you don't mind. With us bearing down on the Olympic Games next
Uh-huh.
month in France, a country that, if people are listening and watching and tuning in for the first time, Elle has been to. Okay, she was in Cannes
Yeah.
just last month. Cannes.
Cans.
Can I go ahead and propose everything be measured with the imperial system of measurement? Because we have this world record that was 37 years old that Ukrainia, oh my God, that Ukraine's, oh damn it.
Ukrainia.
Oh no,
Ukrainia. It's the
no.
Rihanna. It's the follow up to Disturbia.
Oh,
It's the sister cousin of
Ukrainia.
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 Oh, that's not going to go viral. Ukraine's Yaroslava starts with an M last name. Cleared.
Mahuchki.
That's it.
Mahushik.
Mahuchik. Mahuchich. Elle, she cleared a
It's
two
fine. It
point.
doesn't matter. You said
So I'm
Ukrainia. Go
saying
ahead.
she cleared a 2.1 meter victory in the women's high jump, which Elle, I'm going to tell you right now, couldn't tell you if that's impressive or not.
I
You
don't
know
know if
why?
it's good.
Because it's the metric system.
Yeah. Is
Why
that,
are
let
we
me
still
see.
using it?
This is how I go and this is how I feel when I go to other countries and I'll be like, I'm sorry, do you know like what's the temperature? And they'll be like 33 degrees. I'm like, it's freezing.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
like,
like,
it's
damn,
hot.
why am I sweating?
Yeah. I'm not good at this. I always look at my husband and I'm like, how many feet are into this? I don't know. I don't know this.
Wait,
Two
Omar can
meters.
Omar can convert on the fly?
Oh yeah. Omar's brilliant. Is there a
That's
hundred? Is there
insane.
100? Is there 100? Is there no, that can't be 100 feet. 10 feet in a meter? 10?
You think she high jumped 30 feet, dude? Oh my God. That would be some kind of record. Hold
I'm
on.
thinking of
Let me
pole
tell you
vaulting.
how I'm on the fly. Many feet in a meter.
Meter.
I think 3.2. So she
Oh,
she high jumped about 6.5 feet, maybe.
okay. Well, that doesn't seem as impressive as the 100 feet.
No, for real. 100 feet would have been some kind of record. But I'm going to tell you this right now, and I don't say this because of the American arrogance and confidence that we that we deserve. But I'm also saying, like, we won 2 world wars. I feel like we should at least have majority say in this, in the overall unit of measurement that we use. And also, because it's the Olympics, big numbers are just innately more impressive. What sounds cooler? Oh, she cleared 2 meters, or she cleared nearly 7 feet.
Yeah, that one.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you,
one.
Elle.
Yeah.
So
I love that we're proposing that the rest of the world change their ways because we're too dumb enough to learn both conversion systems. Because I do feel like people that use the metric system also know the imperial system. We're just the ones that are like, well, you know what? This is what we do. And if you don't like it, you can just get out.
love it or leave it. And speak for yourself, Elle, because guess what? Ukraine needs to fall in line if they want us to keep cutting these checks. And that's all I got. Hang up the call.
It's the most American thing in the world to demand a country do something after you just up the name of the country. Damn it, Ukraine. Y'all need to get with it.
That's true.
Because where's the smartest?
Fall in
Where's the
line.
bestest?
Thank
Where's
you.
makes the most sense?
Thank you. And if you don't like it, our Navy's better than yours. Don't forget
God.
that, world.
Here we go.
Okay. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know what the metric is for people who don't shower daily, but I'd say I'd like to keep 6 meters away from you if that's the case. Because as we close out the show,
20
we're going to
feet.
start introducing internet debates because we want to solve all the world's problems here. And apparently, Gary, there's a big debate that's raging on the internet right now about how often do you shower? And they've set the over under. Wait, this is a week? I thought you meant a day. When our producer Christina said this, 2.5, I thought she meant a day. 2.5 a week? There's an over under for that. If anyone's choosing that under, I'm going to puke. What
Really?
on God's green earth? Why are you saying it like that? There are 7 days in a week, Gary.
I'm not-
7. I don't know what the metric system version is that, but in an imperial system, there are 7 days in a week. And if your under is 2.5, that means you are barely showering 3 times in a week. What in the actual?
Okay, I'm going to say this right now. I agree with you, not as vehemently as you are passionately objecting to this over under, but I will say if that over under was set at 3.5, we would have a far more spirited debate. I'm over on 2.5 all day, every day. Elle, we don't have jobs here.
You're not over on 3.5. The over under should be set at 6, and then you should take the over. You should bathe every day.
No, you shouldn't. Elle, first of all, in this economy, first of all, okay, Moneybag Yo's, just water flowing. What do you just have a fountain in your home? Okay,
Wait,
Elle,
you don't bathe every day. I just need to get that clear. You do not take a shower every day?
Sometimes I don't. Can I tell you how?
There's no excuse.
Can I tell you how and why? Elle, you are familiar with the SportsCenter AM schedule. From Thursday night to Sunday afternoon, I'm an absolute freaking zombie, right? So there are some weeks.
You know what helps with that? A nice hot shower.
No, Elle, listen, let me tell you something. There are some weeks, matter of fact, this week that we just surpassed, there are some weeks where I will shower, okay? Like on let's say Friday night, right? Going into Saturday, right? And then Saturday, I go through Saturday and I'm just a vegetable on the couch. So I won't shower Saturday. I will go to work Sunday and then shower, like, let's say Sunday night. Sometimes, Elle, a Monday morning. So there are some weeks that have transpired that I might shower 5 times a week. That's not that bad. Don't you put those judgy eyes away, Elle.
I love that you just keep going like, and then maybe that extends another 18 to 20 hours. I'm like, for what? I mean, Gary, here's my thing. It can get a little fudgy because I am a night shower. Like, I like showering at night.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't like getting into my bed dirty. Like, fresh sheets, fresh body. It's great. Yeah. But if you work out in the morning, like I'll take a shower at night. Then if I go work out in the morning, which I like to do 4 days a week, then I'm taking a shower after that. And then I'm taking my shower at night. So I'm averaging 2 showers a day. Now, when I did your schedule, yes, I would shower at night.
Yep.
You go to work the next day. But then before you go to bed on Saturday night, you shower again to get you set up for Sunday, where you then can go all day without showering. And then you shower again on Sunday night to get you set for Monday. So to me, one shower a day is standard. But then on days where you work out or hot summer days where it's 100 degrees and you've got mud butt, Gary, you need to shower. And I know you say that you don't stink and you don't have body odor and all those things.
I really don't. It's a superpower. Elle, I'm telling you right now, my girlfriend will have my back. I don't smell. I don't have odor. I don't have BO. So I understand that I am the privileged group. Listen, I wear that hat. Hand up, that's me. I am a privileged society. I don't smell. I don't sweat. I don't have BO. And on baby, if somebody told me that was going to be my legacy, I'd be like, cool, that's good. Because not a lot of people can say that. Do I shower most of the time once a day? Yes. But there are certainly ways, because when it's hot like this, Elle, we don't have rigorous, physically demanding jobs. We get to work, dress up, take our clothes off, go home, and I'm a sleepy little goose on the weekend. I'll sit on the couch, I'll watch Dateline, hang out in my AC, and then I'm like, oh, time to go to bed. Let's just mosey on up the stairs, go to bed. And sometimes I do that Saturday, Sunday, and I'll worry about showering on Monday. That's just me.
You guys, by the way, Gary golfs a lot too, so he has swamp.
No.
And he's not showering.
If I do anything that has physical exertion, if I'm sweating, yes, it's a no-brainer. I will shower. But if it's one of those lazy weekends, Elle, you catch me 5 times. And then you know what? Future Gary thanks present Gary because that water bill is a couple bucks shorter. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. No one pays attention to the water bill, Gary. You're crazy. What's the longest you've ever gone without showering?
Probably 2 days. There might be a 3-day sprinkled in there somewhere.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You know what? You also seem like one of those guys that uses your towel like for far too long. Like I feel like you're a guy that is I think Dan Orlovsky was disgusting last year. He said he uses the towel 16, 17 times before he washes it, which is disgusting.
So
you seem
about
like
half a month.
Yeah, you seem like you're gonna ride. You're gonna go raw on a. You're gonna go raw on a towel. For a week before you wash it.
I'll rock a towel for a week.
I have separate towels for the upper body. I actually have separate rags too in the shower. You have a rag for the surfaces.
Yep.
Then you have a rag for the other areas.
For the crevices.
And then even though it's clean by then, I like to I hang my towel the same way every time so that when I go to like put my face in the towel, it's not the same place that it was on my the day before. So I'll try to, but you're going to get 3 uses out of a towel from me and then that going into the wash. 3 uses. Okay. 3 times.
You know what? You continue to teach. You continue to have an impactful message. I'm going to hang up my towel differently because oftentimes I hang it up and I'm like, oops, don't know what part was on my butt cheeks.
Correct.
This could be.
You're like, what did I draw my balls with? Because I don't want that on my face tomorrow.
Like, what's this hair?
All right. So we've got a lot of fodder for the phone line. There's a reason Gary gave out my quote unquote number at the top of the show. I would actually murder him if it was my real one, but we have set up a number because we want to talk to you guys. 203-805-8166 is the number. We'll post it somewhere too, I'm sure. Tell us, how many times do you shower? And also, as we both get ready to head out on our travels, Gary is headed to the ESPYs in LA. We'll be holding down our coverage all week. Can't wait for that. I am going to Idaho on a retreat. So we will both be on significantly long flights. And Gary introduced something to me today called a raw dog flight. I don't know what this means, but he explained it to me, Gary, as doing what? Literally doing nothing on a plane. No entertainment system, no iPad, no phone. You just sit there.
Yeah, like literally flying like it was pre-1990. You just get on the airplane and just sit there and wait until you land. You know what I'm saying?
And people are doing this on the internet?
Yeah.
It's a challenge?
It's a mental test. It's not even a challenge. This was just normal 30 years ago. No. Am I going to do it on this 6-hour flight to LA? Probably not.
No.
But a lot of people, because I love looking at the flight map, Elle. And that's the only thing you're allowed to do is just stare at the flight map. So I'll find myself half raw dogging a flight. You know what I mean? But I got too much work to do to be raw dogging today's flight.
Guaranteed that the people that came up with this mental fortitude raw dog a flight challenge are just people that are flying Frontier and Spirit. They have no choice. There are no entertainment centers. There are no Wi-Fi. There are no snacks. There are no food. They literally have no choice. And they're like, you know what? Let's make this a fun game where we act like I'm doing this on purpose. When really I would give my left nut to have an entertainment system.
Yeah, no, I'll be watching some John Cena movies on this flight. You can bet that.
203-805-8166. Because we're going to both be out of town, no show on Thursday.
Mhm.
Listen, we'd like to get these summer vibes off too, but we are taking your calls. God, this could go very poorly. I am worried and
I'm
also
hoping.
intrigued.
I'm hoping it does.
I'm intrigued. Please, no feet request. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, guys, because
And
I'm sick of getting them. I'm not sending you feet pics. Stop sending those to me.
go to his OnlyFans. That's where you can see
Yes.
his feet. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Gary, have a great time in LA. We will see
You
you
too,
next
Elle.
week. We'll have all kinds of stuff to catch up on, shenanigans, ESPYs action, and more. As we say, edu for the week, 203-805-8166. And remember to rate, review, subscribe. Tell somebody about the show. We just out here trying to grow. You know what I mean? We're not showers. We're just growers. And we do that with an amazing group of people like you who tell someone about the show. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.